Welcome back for a brand new box office prediction video. As always, we've got to kick this off with a fantasy movie league recap. And even though we had a really big weekend at the box office last weekend, it proved to be an especially tough one for this game. Dewey, that's inappropriate. Don't do that. We actually didn't have a single player get that perfect lineup. I wish he would stop it. We didn't have a single person get the perfect lineup, but we did have one winner who got the most amount of money, and that individual is BD Seamus 13's Cineplex. I hope I pronounced that correctly because that's one heck of a performance. Not a single perfect lineup, but you were the top scorer, so huge congratulations to you. And now I must admit that I have committed the Fantasy Movie League ultimate sin. I forgot to copy my lineup for all of my leagues, so my lineup was only processed for one of them, and then it was as though I didn't update for the other two, and I'm so disappointed. I blame New York Comic-Con, but one way or the other, my lineup was shit anyway, so I wasn't going to do very well. But what I did nail is the box office rankings. I did wind up going 5 for 5, but even there, I feel like I can't fully celebrate because some of my numbers were pretty off. Of course, we had Venom just crushing my expectations, making a record-breaking $80.3 million. A Star is Born also had a fantastic opening, but with a number lower than what I chose, $42.9 million. The number 3 spot went to Smallfoot, which wound up with another $14.4 million. Then at 4, it was Night School with $12.5 million. And finally, The House with a Clock in Its Walls sitting at number 5 with another $7.3 million. Straight out the gate this weekend, I've got a tough pick ahead of me. So for the number 5 spot, I'm a little torn between Smallfoot and Bad Times at the El Royale. And as much as I'm rooting for Bad Times and I want to see it do well, I want you guys to see it, the safer bet here seems to be putting Smallfoot at number 5 this weekend. Looking at some of the midweek ticket sales for Smallfoot, it looks like it's in really good shape. And if it winds up staying right in line with the movie Storks again, we're only going to see maybe the slightest uptick in its percent change. So let's say that percent change comes up to 39% this weekend, still making another $8.8 million. And I think that's going to be enough to take down El Royale this weekend. Now moving on to my number 4, though, that is where I have Goosebumps 2 Haunted Halloween. No surprise here, I'm going to use the first Goosebumps movie to figure out what Goosebumps 2 might make this weekend. That first movie came out 2015, made $23.6 million. I do not think that the sequel is going to match that for a number of reasons. And the first one I'll throw out there is the fact that Goosebumps 2 is coming into theaters so soon after the release of The House with a Clock in Its Walls. And both Jack Black, very similar target audiences there. So that's going to be working against it. And on top of that, Goosebumps 2 has so much more competition than what Goosebumps was up against when it came out. So Goosebumps 2015, its only big competition was The Martian's third weekend in theaters, whereas Goosebumps 2 is going up against the opening of First Man, plus weekend 2 for both Venom and A Star is Born. Yeah, they're different audiences, but like I said last week, if you picture one big pile of money that has to be divvied up, there's only so much that can go around, and those 3 are going to be some serious money makers this time around. That's why I'm bringing down that opening weekend number for Goosebumps 2, and I'm putting it more in line with the Percy Jackson sequel, Percy Jackson Sea of Monsters, and that's how I come up with the opening weekend number of $15 million for Goosebumps 2. Now moving over to number 3, that is where I have Damien Chazelle's new movie, First Man. For this one, I am looking at Captain Phillips, which hit theaters this same weekend in October, but in 2013. On top of that, like First Man, it also had a good deal of Oscar buzz. The big difference between the two is what I was hinting at in the Goosebumps section, and it's the fact that Captain Phillips had a lot less competition than what First Man is up against this weekend. Captain Phillips was really only going against Gravity's second weekend in theaters, whereas First Man has the second weekend of both A Star is Born and Venom to contend with. So that's why I want to take Captain Phillips' opening of $25.7 million and bring it down to an even $20 million for First Man. Moving over to number 2 now, that is where I'm keeping A Star is Born. So I know these are two completely different movies, but I'm very hung up on The Martian right now. It was an early October release. It made a lot of money. Like A Star is Born, it's got an A cinema score. The only big difference here goes back to the point I keep repeating. There's just so much competition at the box office. Of course, we had a record-breaking October weekend last weekend, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on A Star is Born this time around. So looking at The Martian and what happened weekend 2, that movie dropped 31.9%. So given the increase in competition, I want to bring that percent change up to 40% for A Star is Born. And if that's the hit it winds up taking, it's still making another very impressive $26 million haul. With all that being said, of course, that makes Venom my number 1 pick again. Between A Star is Born and Venom, I do think that A Star is Born is the one that's going to have the longer legs. But with how big Venom's opening weekend number was, it doesn't matter how big of a hit it winds up taking this weekend. It's still going to wind up with a ton of money. But in order to figure out that percent change, I'm looking at Ant-Man and the Wasp. So that one obviously came out earlier this year, and it made $75.8 million opening weekend. Then it took a 61.6% hit. Yes, the fact that Ant-Man and the Wasp had a slightly higher cinema score is on my mind, but with all the talk that's been going on and all the attention that Venom is getting, I kind of still want to keep that percent change right about there. And if that's the hit that Venom winds up taking, it's still making another $31 million at the box office this weekend. And of course, that brings us to our recap now. I've got Venom taking the top spot with $31 million. A Star is Born coming in at number 2 with $26 million. Then it's First Man at number 3 with $20 million, followed by Goosebumps 2 Haunted Halloween at number 4 with $15 million. And then finally, Smallfoot rounding out the top 5 with $8.8 million. So that is a wrap on my box office predictions, but now I leave it to you. One, head on over to Fantasy Movie League, sign up for the predictions with Perri League, and don't worry, I have already logged a preliminary lineup and copied it to all of my leagues, just in case, but go sign up, play there. And then on top of that, leave your top 5 in the comment section of this video. I love checking those out. And before we close this out, I've got a round of Patreon shout outs to give. And this is going to a group of guys on my G-Chat tier, and they are Aviel, Rick, Lewis, and James. I actually think we have G-Chats coming up this weekend, and I am so excited to catch up with all 4 of you again. I really do look forward to those. I enjoy talking to you guys, and I greatly appreciate you being here. So thank you so much for sticking with the campaign. Yet again, thanks to everybody out there watching these box office prediction videos. Do not forget to like and share them, and I'll see you next week to see how we all did on our predictions.